Good morning, Junks. How you guys doing?
Tarik, what's up?
Good. Hey, you know what? Let's start with Ovi because we were in a little debate, and Cake said that he's not even really watching the Caps now for playoffs. He's lowered his expectations. He's all about the Ovi chase, and he's not scoring goals.
I mean, that's a little premature. I still think if they go on a heater and string together some wins, that they could grab a wild card spot. But it's getting. What's the saying?
Precarious?
It's getting late early. Is that the saying? Because Spencer Carberry said as much post-game last night.
Right.
He said, this is the most important stretch. We need to start getting wins. It's playoff time right now for us. I'm paraphrasing.
All right, but the point is,
Yeah.
you
right.
do care about Ovi breaking Gretzky's record.
I have a vested
and he's not scoring
financial
goals.
interest. Yes.
And we got into this debate, and we saw some data, but you watched them
Can't wait to
far
spend
more
that
closely than
$1,000.
us.
He's so bitter.
Is Ovi skating slower? Is he shooting slower? Why isn't he scoring goals?
Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. I mean, he's 38 years old. He does not get around the rink at the same speed or the same pace or the same vigor that he used to. But we saw that last year, and he scored 42 goals. And he kind of slowed down the year before that, and he scored 50 goals. So what's happening right now, and I've talked to people around the league, and obviously I've watched every game, it's almost inexplicable. You start looking for little things, and as far as I can tell, guys, to me it looks like his radar is off a little bit when it comes to his shot. He's generating shots almost at the same clip as he has in previous seasons. It's a little down. It's off by a couple of percentage points. But his expected goals right now, guys, it's almost 15 goals. He should have, based on underlying analytics, where he shoots the puck from, he should have 15 goals. Instead, he's got 8. I mean, normally he's a little ahead of that pace anyway, but when you look at a player's expected goals and actual goals, and it's almost 50%, it's almost, a half. Then you start looking for the little things. And to me, guys, it looks like he's getting decent scoring chances, but in years past where he would take that one-timer from the circle, or he would, wind up from even a little bit further out. He was beating goalies over the glove, over the blocker, below the blocker. Now he's hitting the goaltender. Now, I know he's had a problem with his sticks. And look, you never want to be the guy, the tradesman who blames his tools. But I do know he's had a really big problem with the sticks that he's had this year. He started out the year with CCMs. He switched over to Bauer. The other day I was at practice. He was trying a Warrior. He's been going back and forth. I wonder if that is in his head a little bit, but it's also making a material difference in how he's shooting the puck. But, I mean, look, analytics aren't the end-all and be-all, but when your underlying numbers say you should have 15 goals and you got 8, it's like, what is happening? I mean, his shooting percentage, guys, it's like around 6%.
Yeah.
It's always been around 13 or 14.
Right.
And when you're at this point in the season, let's say in November, I was like, oh, that's going to turn around. I mean, that's just we play a stupid game on ice. There's posts. Things happen in a game that are kind of random. That's going to turn around. It hasn't turned around.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where you start getting concerned.
Right. Two things. One thing is an interesting side note. I've also noticed that he's mishandling a lot of pucks, and somebody said to me that it's because of the stick issue that and maybe because he's wanting more power or whatever, he's like curving his stick more. I don't know. Your kids play hockey. You play hockey. I don't know anything on it. But could that be a factor?
He is mishandling pucks. But again, maybe at a greater rate than past seasons. But I kind of noticed that last year, too. And he still scored 42 goals.
Right.
So I do think the sticks might have something to do with it, really. But I also think it might be in his head to a certain extent. Because I do know he is changing sticks quite often.
Second question for you. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know the other boys have questions. Second question is, like, JP was showing me that his fastest shot speed is down like 7 miles per hour from last year. And I'm like, there's no way he's 7 miles per hour slower in 1 year, 10 miles per. There's just no way. His average. There's no way.
I have not noticed that, but there is a website called NHL Edge that's run by the league where they actually measure shot speed. I don't know if that's average speed or what, but
no, I think it was fastest.
It was max shot speed, and it's come down the last 3 years.
That's different than average. It's totally different.
Yeah, so that doesn't totally surprise me. Again, that is a 38-year-old player who just isn't swinging his stick with the same vigor and velocity that he did before. That happens. But again, the thing that I think myself and other people around the league are struggling to wrap their head around is going from 50 to 42 to now 8 on pace for like 14. Like, how does that happen?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think bad luck.
It's just frustrating. All right, so last night, Tarik, I didn't see any of the game. All right, bet on it, but I didn't see it. I just see Darcy gives up 5. Now, how many of those 5 were on him?
So the first 2, I don't think he had a whole lot to do with. One was a weird bounce off the inboards. The other, good shot. The third one, I think from Marcus Johansson, he would want that one back. But again, having talked to goalies now for 2 decades, I'll tell you this. They'll tell you when a goal is bad, but there are so many mitigating circumstances and things like, did a defenseman get his stick on the shooter's stick blade? And I thought that might have happened. If that changes the trajectory of that puck by, 3 inches, and you put your glove out where it looks like it's going to go and it goes over, everyone in the stands and on television is going, that was a bad goal. But you just didn't see other things that happened. Kemper's had a really hot and cold season. It's been kind of weird. He's one of the top goaltenders in the league when it comes to steals. And that's when a goalie essentially puts a team on his back and wills them to victory. He's got 4. Charlie Lindgren has 4. That's among the best in the league. But then he's also had those games where it's like, that just didn't look right. And the thing that's been a recurring theme for Darcy, and I think he would even tell you this, are sometimes the Capitals need that big save first. And that first shot, that second shot, just to kind of get into the game, get their legs under them. And I feel like too many times this year, whether it's a good shot or not, that first save, Charlie has made that save and Darcy hasn't, and that just changes the entire dynamic of the game. The Capitals do not play a style and aren't good enough in their kind of arc right now to go down 2 goals and storm back and win 3-2. That's just not who they are. If they can score that first goal or get out of the first period tied 1-1 or 2-2, that's when you see them able to win, because they've been very good in the third period. They're a decent defending team, and the goaltenders have been, for the most part, very good. And they can kind of, with guts and guile and veteran savvy, they can lock teams down. But if they are chasing like they did the previous 2 games, because remember in St. Louis they gave up an early goal too. If they're chasing from early on, I don't want to say it's lights out, but it might be lights out.
Tarik, does Coach Carbs look at Kuzi the same way I look at a Rubik's Cube? Like, I'm just completely confounded by it. Like, I won't even approach it. Like, he's trying different lineups with him. He's healthy scratching him every once in a while. I mean, he just seems like he's super frustrated with him. He's only got 15 points on the season, 6 goals, 9 assists. And I'm sure that McClellan would try to move him at the trade deadline if there was a taker. I don't know how many takers there are going to be for his huge salary and that limited production. But, like, do you think Carbs is just like he's had enough of Kuzi at this point?
I don't know if he's had enough, but I can tell you everyone within the organization is frustrated. I mean, you simply can't have a player who's making $7.8 million. That's a large percentage of your salary cap, producing at the rate that he's producing on a consistent basis. I mean, the reason you keep him in the lineup is because of what he did last night, right? One of those goals was an incredible, elite, world-class pass right to Anthony Mantha. Like, that's why you keep him in the lineup. And every once in a while, he goes off for a goal and an assist, and that is the difference in the game. That's why you keep him in the lineup. But there are just way, way too many nights where it just looks to me, and it looks like to everyone else, he's just not dialed in. Like, he's just out to lunch. He's not playing the game, with the level of focus that you need from a player who's making that kind of that much of your cap. That combined with Nicholas Backstrom, taking the leave early in the season. I mean, those are your first and second center. I mean, all apologies to Dylan Strome, but those guys, you got one who can't play physically, and you got another that is sometimes out to lunch, and it's like it's really hard to win those games. And I don't know what the long-term implications are with Kuznetsov, because I think you nailed it when you said, look, he's wanted out. He's wanted a change of venue. I mean, he has not been shy about the fact that he is, it's out there. He has requested a trade each of the last couple of years. The Caps have tried to accommodate it, but you can't just trade a player who every once in a while can win a game for you for a bag of peanuts, for a fourth liner or a late round pick. I mean, they aren't at the point now where they just want rid of him. If they are going to move him, which I think is probably the right move for the player and for the team, you got to get back something. That deal just hasn't materialized. And, maybe Kuznetsov is also frustrated. He doesn't talk to the media a whole lot, and when he does, he's often kind of silly and doesn't really tell you a whole lot. But it's not a good situation for the player or for the team. And let's see what happens here over the next month. I'm sure there'll be conversations, but yeah, I mean, you guys can't see me right now, but I'm just kind of doing a face palm now, which I'm sure everyone else does.
And now, Tarik, they lose a tough one last night, and they got to fly to Denver last night, so they're in Denver, get in late. Who knows what kind of sleep they're getting, and now they're going to play one of the best teams in the league in a back-to-backer, and Lindgren will be in net, but Colorado's minus 260 on the money line. I mean, they're a huge favorite. So, and there's 10 teams right now with more points in the Eastern Conference than the Caps. It's getting to it's that point, man. You have to win these games. You have to.
You are getting to the point in the season, guys. I've covered this team for 20 years, so I've covered good teams, I've covered bad teams, and I've covered the teams that are somewhere in between, which is what this team is. And when you look at the standings, you said there's 10 teams with more points in the standings. When you look at the standings, it's not just the fact that they've got to get hot at this point. They've also got to get help. Mm-hmm. And that's something that doesn't happen a whole lot. Like, you got to have the Islanders and the Red Wings and the Devils. And, you got to have 3 or 4 teams go cold at the same time that you get hot. Fortunately for the Capitals, while they've kind of gone through this little lull here, the teams around them have also gone through a little bit of a lull. But, I mean, Carberry was very succinct last night when he said our season is on the line right now, and it's unfortunate that they're not playing a team that's way behind them in the standings. They're playing Colorado. I was looking at the stats this morning, guys. Dylan Strome and Alex Ovechkin lead the Capitals with 28 points apiece. Uh-huh. You look at Colorado. Nathan McKinnon has 77 points.
Oh my Lord.
Rantanen has 60 points. Makar has 54. And this is a team that has injuries and guys who have taken mental health breaks. Like, it's not like they're at their full strength either. They're playing a different game right now. It's going to be really tough for the Capitals, but I mean, they've got to show up. They've got to show up, and they've got to somehow try to get a point out of this game, get a couple of points, maybe do it in Dallas, another good team that they've got right after that to close out, the first half. I know they're past the first half, but consider, going into the All-Star break, they've got to start collecting points. They've got to string together some wins because, guys, on the other side of the All-Star game, they have the hardest schedule in the NHL.
That is not inspiring. Tarik, we got to run, man. Thanks for the info.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.